For nearly 3 years, I had been the grandmother who said yes before anyone finished asking. Yes, I could pick up Miles from preschool. Yes, I could stay with Sophie while Vanessa took a client call. Yes, I could make dinner, switch the laundry, stop by the pharmacy, take someone to the pediatrician, wait for the plumber, return the library books, buy more pull-ups, and somehow still be home before dark. I told myself it was love. Then, one cold Thursday afternoon, my daughter-in-law looked across her immaculate kitchen and told me I was making her life harder. Rain struck the windows in thin silver lines while I stood at the stove stirring tomato basil soup. 5-year-old Miles sat at the breakfast bar in his dinosaur sweatshirt, his cheeks pink from the wind outside. 2-year-old Sophie was in her high chair, kicking one socked foot against the tray and tearing a grilled cheese sandwich into tiny squares. Miles had come home from preschool ravenous. Dinner was still more than 2 hours away, so I gave him half a sandwich and a bowl of soup. That was apparently the wrong decision. The door to the home office opened sharply behind me. Vanessa stepped into the kitchen with a laptop tucked beneath one arm and a headset hanging around her neck. She was 33, smart, ambitious, polished, even when exhausted. That afternoon, though, her face was drawn tight. Her eyes landed on Miles's plate. "What is that?" I turned down the burner. "Grilled cheese." "I can see that. I told you we were cutting back on packaged cheese." He was hungry. He has dinner at 5:30. He was crying when we got home. Vanessa put her laptop on the island harder than necessary. And now he won't eat dinner. Then bedtime gets pushed back. Then tomorrow morning is a disaster. Diane, we have a schedule for a reason. I dried my hands on a towel. He ate half a sandwich, Vanessa. That is not the point. Miles stopped chewing. Sophie looked from her mother to me, sensing the tension even if she could not understand it. Vanessa pressed both palms against the granite countertop and exhaled through her nose. Every week I have to explain the same things. Snacks, naps, screen time, laundry, what goes in the dishwasher, what doesn't. You keep doing whatever you think is best. I am not trying to undermine you. But you do, constantly. The words came faster now, fueled by something much larger than a sandwich. I cannot keep managing my job, the kids, and you. You're too much trouble around here. I stared at her. For 1 second, I honestly thought I had misheard. She continued, "If you can't respect how I want things done in my house, then maybe you shouldn't be around the kids at all." The kitchen went completely still. Rain tapped against the glass. Miles lowered his sandwich. I felt something inside me go quiet, not break, not explode, settle. For 34 months, I had driven across town 5 days a week to keep their household moving. I handled preschool pickups, fever days, groceries, appointments, laundry, meals, and emergency babysitting without ever sending them a bill or asking for gas money. My husband, Henry, had died 5 years earlier after a long illness. Afterward, helping my son and his young family had given shape to days that suddenly felt too wide. I loved being needed, maybe too much. That afternoon, however, Vanessa made one thing unmistakably clear. Being needed was not the same as being valued. I folded the dish towel and hung it over the oven handle. Vanessa watched me. I picked up my handbag from the bench by the mudroom, put on my coat, and slipped my keys from the ceramic bowl. "What are you doing?" she asked. "You asked me to stay away from the children." I was angry. "I understand." "Diane, don't be dramatic." I opened the back door. "I am not being dramatic. I am respecting your boundary." Miles slid off his stool. "Grandma?" I turned, my heart twisting. "I love you, sweetheart." "Are you leaving?" "For today." I refused to make him part of an adult conflict. I smiled at Sophie, then stepped outside into the cold rain and closed the door behind me. I cried once I reached the highway, tears blurring the red taillights while the wipers swept back and forth. I was hurt by Vanessa, but beneath that to hurt was a harder truth. I had helped create the arrangement I now resented. No one had forced me to become available every hour of every day. I had trained them to believe I would always say yes because I had never shown them what no looked like. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I knew what I was going to do. Nothing. No angry messages, no speech about sacrifice, no list of everything I had done. I would simply stop doing it. At 8:17 that evening, my phone rang. Caleb. My only son had inherited his father's tendency to sound apologetic before saying something disappointing. "Hey, Mom." "Hello?" "So, Vanessa told me what happened." I sat in my armchair with a mug of chamomile tea warming my hands. She said things got tense. She told me I was too much trouble and should stay away from the children. He sighed. She had a brutal review with her director today. The company is restructuring. She is under insane pressure. I am sorry to hear that. She didn't mean it. She said it clearly. Mom. His voice carried that familiar note of impatience, as though my feelings were an obstacle between him and a practical solution. Can we not turn this into a whole thing? I looked at the framed photograph on my mantle of Henry standing beside Caleb on his wedding day. I am not turning it into anything. Good, because we still need you tomorrow. There it was. Not "are you okay?" Not "I'm sorry." Need. Miles has speech therapy at 2:30, Caleb continued. Vanessa has back-to-back meetings, and I have to be in Harrisburg for a site visit. You can still take him, right? No. Silence. What? I won't be taking him. Mom, come on. Vanessa told me to stay away from the children. I am going to respect that. She was mad. I know. You know she didn't literally mean forever. I don't know what she meant beyond the words she used, but I do know I am done being summoned whenever something needs fixing. Summoned? That's unfair. So was what happened today. He was quiet. Then he tried the voice he had used since college whenever he wanted me to rescue him from a consequence. Mom, we really don't have another option. You will find one. I wished him good night and ended the call. My hands trembled after I put the phone down. Saying no did not feel powerful. It felt terrible. But terrible was not the same as wrong. The next morning I woke at 7:30 without an alarm. For years, 6 o'clock had belonged to someone else's routine. Pack lunches, start the car, check the weather, leave early if there was construction on Route 22. That Friday, sunlight stretched across my bedroom floor, and no one was waiting for me. I brewed coffee and drank it on the back porch beneath a wool blanket. A cardinal landed on the fence. I had lived in that house for 29 years and could not remember the last time I had watched a bird without also checking the clock. By 10, I was at the Township Recreation Center. I joined water aerobics and signed up to volunteer at the local history museum. After lunch, I bought a mystery novel simply because the cover made me curious. At 2:47, my phone lit up. 3 missed calls from Caleb, then a voicemail. Mom, where are you? We had to cancel Miles's appointment. They charged us for the session. I listened once, then I deleted it. I did not feel victorious. I felt sad, but sadness was healthier than surrender. The first week was difficult for them. The second was chaos. A babysitting service charged more in 4 hours than they had ever spent on my gas in a month. One sitter arrived late, and another ignored Vanessa's careful snack instructions. On Tuesday, the preschool called because Miles had a fever. In the past, the secretary would call me directly. I could be there in 15 minutes with children's acetaminophen, a clean blanket, and the little blue cup he preferred. This time, Vanessa was giving a remote presentation to executives in Denver. Caleb was 40 miles away inspecting a warehouse. They both called me. I was at a watercolor class at the library with my phone on silent. When I left 2 hours later, I had 7 missed calls and 1 message from Caleb. We handled it, barely. I stared at those words for a long time. We handled it, that was the point. They were parents. They were supposed to handle it. The next afternoon, my friend Linda came over. She had known me since our sons played Little League together. Are you miserable? She asked. Yes. Are you going back? No, she smiled. Good. I miss the children. Missing them and being used are not the same problem. That sentence stayed with me. On Saturday morning, I made chicken soup, not because Caleb asked, Not because Vanessa needed help, because Miles was sick, Sophie had started coughing, and they were my grandchildren. I simmered chicken thighs with carrots, celery, garlic, parsley, and noodles. I baked blueberry muffins because Sophie liked to pull the berries out first. Before sunrise the next morning, I packed everything into an insulated tote and drove to their house. I still had the spare key. I did not use it. I placed the food on the porch with a note. For Miles and Sophie, heat the soup slowly, love, Grandma. Then I left. That afternoon, Caleb texted a photograph of a small green notebook. I recognized it immediately. For years, I had kept notes about the children, medication times, pediatrician numbers, which detergent irritated Sophie's skin, the days Miles's preschool needed gym shoes, the nightlight batteries, the brand of sunscreen that did not make him break out. Vanessa had mocked the notebook once as Grandma's Command Center. Apparently, she had found it near the microwave. Caleb wrote, "Mom, we didn't realize how much you were tracking. Vanessa says we should reimburse you for everything, gas, groceries, whatever. Please let us." I read the message while repotting a fern on my porch. Money. They still thought the wound was financial. I typed back, "The soup was for the kids. I don't need reimbursement. Hope everyone feels better." Then I put my phone inside. 3 weeks after I walked out of their kitchen, I took my first overnight trip in years. Linda and I drove to the mountains and stayed at a small inn overlooking a lake. We browsed antique shops, walked a trail through red and gold trees, and ate dinner at a restaurant where no one needed their chicken cut into smaller pieces. Halfway through dessert, my phone buzzed. "Caleb, are you free Sunday? Vanessa wants to have you over for brunch." I read it twice. Linda glanced at the phone. "Emergency?" "No." "Then eat your pie." I laughed and set it face down. Later, I replied that I was away until Monday. Caleb answered with a simple thumbs up. That night by the inn's fireplace, I admitted I worried I was punishing them. "Are you?" Linda asked. "No, I'm living my life." "Then keep going." I realized that after Henry's illness and death, I had thrown myself into Caleb's family without ever asking what I wanted for myself. I still did not know the answer, but for the first time, I had room to find it. By the 4th week, my calendar was filling. Museum training on Wednesdays, water aerobics Tuesdays and Thursdays, book club twice a month, lunch with Linda, a Saturday lecture at the community college about local architecture. I bought theater tickets. I started sleeping better. Then Caleb appeared at my front door without calling. It was 9 on a Saturday morning. When I opened the door, he stood on my porch, with Sophie strapped into a car seat against one hip, Miles clutching his hand, and 2 stuffed backpacks hanging from his shoulders. He looked terrible. His hair was uncombed. His shirt was wrinkled. There were shadows beneath his eyes. "Hey, Mom." "Good morning." He shifted Sophie's seat. "Vanessa has a client audit, and I have a report due by 1. We figured the kids could hang out here for a few hours." I kept one hand on the door. "You didn't call." "I know, but you're usually home Saturday mornings." "Usually was before." His eyes moved past me. From the dining room came laughter. 6 museum volunteers were sitting around my table with coffee, binders, and pastries. We were planning a children's exhibit for spring. Caleb blinked. "You have people over." "Yes." "Oh." "I am hosting a committee meeting until noon. Then Linda and I are going to a matinee." His face tightened. "Mom, please. We haven't slept properly in weeks." "I am sorry. The house is a wreck. Vanessa and I are fighting constantly. I'm behind at work." "I am sorry. I know you're trying to prove a point." "I am not." "Then help me." I lowered my voice. "Caleb, I have helped you for almost 3 years. What I am doing now is allowing you to become responsible for the life you built." He looked hurt. So did I. Miles tugged his sleeve. "Daddy, are we going inside?" Caleb closed his eyes for a second. "No, buddy." He looked at me again. "You really won't take them?" "Not without being asked in advance, and not today." His jaw worked as though he wanted to argue. Then, perhaps because the people behind me could hear, perhaps because he finally understood I was serious, he nodded. "Okay." I crouched and opened my arms to Miles. He hugged me tightly. "I miss you, Grandma." I miss you too. Sophie reached toward me from the car seat, and I kissed her forehead. Then Caleb carried them back to the car. I closed the door and stood with my forehead against it for several seconds before returning to the dining room. No one said anything. Then an older volunteer named Patricia touched my arm. That looked hard. It was. You did fine. I swallowed. Thank you. The real turning point came 6 days later. At 10:30 on Friday night, my phone rang. Caleb. I almost let it go to voicemail, then I answered. Hello? For several seconds, all I heard was breathing, then a broken sound. Mom! My son was crying, not frustrated tears, not angry tears. He was sobbing. I sat up in bed. Caleb, what happened? Everything. Are the children safe? Yes, they're asleep. Is Vanessa safe? Yes. Then breathe. He tried. His voice came out ragged. Vanessa had a call with a client in London. Sophie dumped juice on her laptop. Miles had a meltdown because dinner was late. I burned the pasta. Vanessa just sat down on the kitchen floor and started crying. I listened. She said she can't do it. She said she's failing at work and failing at being a mother. His breathing hitched. And then she said something about you. I waited. She said you made everything look easy. My chest tightened. She said every time you walked in and fixed something, she felt like proof that she wasn't enough. And instead of admitting that, she criticized you. Caleb cried harder. And I let her. I closed my eyes. I let her talk to you like you were an employee because it benefited me. I never defended you because I didn't want to lose the help. I said nothing. I treated you like a service, Mom. His voice broke. I am so sorry. That was the first apology that reached me. Not because it was dramatic, because it was specific. I hear you, I said quietly. I should have called the minute she spoke to you that way. Yes. I should have told her it was unacceptable. Yes. I should have noticed how much you were doing before you had to disappear for us to see it. Yes. There was a long silence. Then he whispered, Can we talk in person? I looked at the clock. Sunday morning. Thank you. Caleb? Yes? Don't come to my house with the children and expect me to watch them after the conversation. To my surprise, he let out a wet, exhausted laugh. I won't. We met Sunday at a diner halfway between our neighborhoods. Neutral ground felt important. No laundry, no toys, no ringing work phones, just a booth by the window, 3 cups of coffee, and the consequences of what had happened. Vanessa looked different without her usual armor. No blazer, no polished makeup. Her hair was tied back, and the skin beneath her eyes was pale with exhaustion. She wrapped both hands around her mug. Diane, I owe you an apology. I waited. What I said was cruel. It was disrespectful, and it was not true. Her eyes filled, but she did not look away. I was overwhelmed that day, but being overwhelmed doesn't excuse what I did. I nodded once. She continued, I have spent years trying to be exceptional at everything. Work, motherhood, marriage, the house. I kept making systems because if I could control every detail, I could pretend I wasn't scared. Her fingers tightened around the mug. Then you would come in and somehow calm Miles in 5 minutes, get Sophie to nap, make dinner, fold clothes, remember a school form I had forgotten, and still leave smiling. A tear slid down her cheek. I resented you for being good at the exact things I was terrified I was failing at. I never expected you to do any of it the way I did, I said. I know that now. No, Vanessa, I need you to really hear me. I was not competing with you. She looked down. I know. They are your children. I am their grandmother. Those are different roles. I know. I wasn't trying to prove you were inadequate. I believe you. I took a breath. But your insecurity turned me into a target, and Caleb's comfort turned me into unpaid staff. He flinched. That is fair, he said. I looked at both of them. I love you. I love those children beyond words. But I will not go back to the arrangement we had. Vanessa nodded quickly. We're not asking you to. Good. Caleb leaned forward. What would feel okay to you? For the first time, someone asked. I had thought about it for days. I want to be grandma again. Neither interrupted. I would like one afternoon a week with Miles and Sophie. Wednesday, 2 until 5. We can go to the library, park, museum, whatever we want. That time is for us. Vanessa nodded. Okay. I will not do laundry while I'm there. I will not clean your kitchen. I will not organize appointments or manage school forms. Understood. If there is a true emergency and you ask, I may help, but may is not will. Caleb gave a small, embarrassed smile. Understood. And I want one family dinner a month. Everyone helps, no disappearing into the office while I cook and clean. Vanessa actually laughed softly. That is more than fair. I wasn't finished. If you disagree with something I do with the children, speak to me respectfully. I will follow reasonable rules because you are their parents. But I will not accept being spoken to, as though I am an incompetent employee. Vanessa's eyes dropped. You won't have to. I hope not. Caleb reached across the table. He hesitated before touching my hand. Mom, I don't expect you to forgive us immediately. I already forgive you. Both of them looked surprised. Forgiveness is not the same as returning to what hurt me. Vanessa covered her mouth for a moment. Then she nodded. I understand. And I believed she did. The next few months forced them to build a life that did not depend on my constant availability. They enrolled Miles in an extended day program 3 afternoons a week. Vanessa moved 2 recurring meetings. Caleb negotiated 1 work-from-home day. They hired a cleaning service twice a month and found a college student named Brianna, who babysat on planned evenings. It cost money, real money. They canceled a beach vacation and kept their older car another year. I did not apologize for that. They had been living on the hidden subsidy of my time. Once my time had value again, their budget had to reflect reality. The changes were not magically easy. Miles got another fever in January, and Caleb missed half a workday. But they handled it, and they stopped treating every inconvenience as a crisis. Without me standing nearby to rescue them, they became better partners to each other. Vanessa stopped micromanaging every snack. Caleb learned the children's medication schedules. They both started planning the week on Sunday nights, and because I was no longer exhausted when I saw my grandchildren, I enjoyed them more. Wednesday afternoons became sacred. We visited the library, collected leaves at the park, and wandered the botanical garden, where Sophie believed every butterfly had come specifically to see her. I never folded their laundry. I never emptied the dishwasher. I never checked whether there was enough milk for morning. I arrived as grandma. I left as grandma. 6 months after the fight, I pulled into their driveway at 2 o'clock on a bright April afternoon. Miles came racing toward the door before I even rang the bell. Grandma! He held up a drawing of a green dinosaur wearing glasses. That's you, he said. I laughed. Why am I a dinosaur? Because you're old, Vanessa, standing behind him, closed her eyes. Oh my God, Miles, I laughed harder. It's fine. Sophie appeared clutching a stuffed rabbit and demanded to bring 3 crackers in a plastic cup. Vanessa looked at the crackers. Then she looked at me. For one tiny second, I saw the ghost of the woman who once wanted every bite scheduled. She smiled. Have fun. We did. At the library, Miles sat cross-legged during story hour while Sophie leaned against my knee. Afterward, we bought vanilla ice cream and sat outside beneath budding trees. At 4:50, I buckled them into the car. At 5 exactly, I brought them home. Vanessa met us at the door holding something wrapped in foil. Banana bread, she said. I made 2 loaves. She handed one to me. Thank you for today. Not thanks for saving us. Not thanks for doing everything. Thank you for today. I held the warm loaf against my chest. You're welcome. Miles hugged my waist. Sophie blew me a kiss. Caleb called from the kitchen. Love you, Mom. Love you too. Then I walked to my car without checking their laundry room, their calendar, their refrigerator, or their sink. On the drive home, evening sunlight poured through the trees. I thought about how close I had come to spending the rest of my healthy years proving my love through exhaustion. For a long time, I believed sacrifice was the purest form of devotion. Sometimes it is. But sacrifice given endlessly, silently, and without limits can teach people the wrong lesson. It can teach them that your time has no cost, that your energy replenishes itself, that your presence is guaranteed. Stepping away did not destroy my family. It revealed it. It showed Caleb where he had been selfish. It forced Vanessa to confront the fear beneath her control. And it forced me to admit that being indispensable had become part of my identity. I had been so afraid of no longer being needed that I had forgotten how good it felt to simply be wanted. Now, when my grandchildren run toward me, I know they are not excited because I'm about to scrub a pan or solve a scheduling problem. They are excited because I am grandma. And when Caleb or Vanessa asks for help, they ask. They do not assume. Sometimes I say yes, sometimes I say no. Neither answer threatens our love. That may be the greatest thing I learned after Henry died, and I nearly disappeared into everyone else's needs. Love does not require unlimited access. Family does not mean surrendering your entire life. And boundaries are not walls. The right ones are doors. They let people come close without letting them walk over you. I spent almost 3 years believing I was holding my son's family together. In the end, the healthiest thing I ever did for all of us was let go.